Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for FPL content for the 2020-21 season. My name is Dan and today we're talking about transfers. So a few of you have asked me to sort of rate some of the new summer transfers, summer signings that have come into the Premier League this year. So I've got 10 for you today, 10 of the most, I guess, high profile transfers, and we're going to rate them whether they're good options, bad options or pretty average options. I'm going to give my verdict on each of them. I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to be looking at clean sheets for a lot of these players because a lot of them are defenders, just because when a player comes into a new team, clean sheets don't matter so much. For example, Nathan Aké going to Man City, you know, his clean sheets for Bournemouth are not going to matter really too much when we're looking at Man City. So we're going to look at sort of the goal threat and stuff like that and sort of how solid they are as a player in general. But if you haven't subscribed yet, please do consider subscribing. I know that only 80% of you who are watching this video right now have not subscribed, and only 20% of you have, because I checked the statistics. So please don't be one of that 80%. Become part of the 20%, guys. Let's go. And I'm going to help you really boost your rankings in the mini league. And if this video goes down well, you like what you see, give it a like, and perhaps I'll do a part 2 with even more of the transfers, particularly if more transfers come in, which I think they will. So let's crack on anyway. So we're going to start off with Ben Chilwell, defender at 5.5 million. We're going to whiz past Ben Chilwell fairly quickly because he is injured. He's not got a return date at the moment, so we don't really know what's going on there. You expect when he is back that he is going to start, but even if he does start, I do think Ben Chilwell is a little bit too expensive, just considering that Chelsea's defence, it kind of needs to prove itself to me a little bit. Last season, defensively, they didn't look very good. I know they've got Thiago Silva in as well now, but they've still got Kepa Arrizabalaga in goal, and, you know, he really was letting the side down a little bit. So I have to give this a verdict of bad, just because he's injured, just because he's a little expensive, just because I don't trust Chelsea's defence quite yet. So for right now, for your Game Week 1 teams, I think we've got to avoid Ben Chilwell. So we'll move on to Timo Werner. Now, the question is with Timo Werner, where does he fit in the system? Is he going to be playing on the left wing, in which case is he in competition with Pulisic? Is he going to be playing as a sole striker? We think that he probably can't play as a sole striker, just because he's tried to play there for Germany, and it's not really gone to plan. He plays much better in a front two, so if he was paired in a front two with Giroud or maybe Tammy Abraham, then that would look pretty good for Timo Werner, I think. But even so, his goal contribution record is insane. I mean, you can see the stats in front of you there. Absolutely mental, the amount of goals he scores, the amount of assists he gets, and I really do think he's the kind of player who's worth taking a risk on, which is why I've given the verdict of good. But what I like even more about Timo Werner is if it doesn't go well, if you watch him for a couple of game weeks and you're thinking, I don't actually like the look of Timo Werner here, he's not settling in as well as I think he would, and I do think he will settle in quite well to the Premier League, you can very easily downgrade him to a Martial, to an Ings, to a Jimenez, whereas it's much harder to upgrade a Martial, an Ings or a Jimenez to Timo Werner just because you have to have spare money in the bank. So I'd rather downgrade to a I guess, less risky choice than upgrade. Especially with Martial not playing Game Week 1, it might be actually quite nice. Timo Werner disappoints, down to Martial, absolutely lovely, sorted. So I think Timo Werner's a really good pick, and I think he's going to do really well. And if he doesn't, that's fine. We can still downgrade him. So next up, Nathan Aké. 5.5 million defender, I don't know. The problem is he going to start every week? Has Aké been brought in to start every week, or is he going to be rotated a little bit? My suspicion is that he's going to be rotated a little bit. So Aymeric Laporte is going to be the primary left-sided centre-back. We know Nathan Aké prefers to play on the left. I don't know if he could play on the right there, in the right centre-back slot. Even if he does, I think he's going to be rotated a little bit, particularly if Man City are in for another central defender. As soon as another central defender signs for Man City, I think Nathan Aké is an absolute no-go, I'm afraid. So I do want to be convinced that Nathan Aké is going to be playing week in, week out before I spend 5.5 million. I'd rather get someone else in who I can be a bit more confident in, who's going to keep playing every week, and I don't have to rely on my bench or one-pointers if things don't go to plan. So I have to give Aké a verdict of bad right now, just until we see a little bit more. So next up, Hakim Ziyech. 8 million, he's quite a nice price point. There's not really much going on around that price. I know, I think he is nursing a slight injury at the moment, but we'll talk about him anyway. So he's the assist king, he's the absolute assist king, but can he do it in the Premier League? I know a lot of people have said, yes, he's done it in the Champions League, so he could do it in the Premier League. I don't know if I'm fully convinced by that. I know he has done it against English opposition, but I do want to see him play a little bit in the new Chelsea system with all of these new players, and see how he gets on. There's going to be so many stars in the Chelsea midfield that Ziyech is kind of going to be just another one of those, certainly at the start, and then maybe he'll come into it, maybe he'll develop into one of the star men in that team, particularly if Havertz is coming in as well. Maybe I prefer Havertz if he's a similar price. So yeah, I'm not quite sure about Ziyech yet. It could go either way, it really could. I don't think it's a bad choice, but I don't think he's one of those players who you think, wow, this is going to be a really good player to put in my team. Don't think he's quite there yet, so I have to put him as average, and yeah, we'll see how he gets on basically. So next up, Rodrigo forward at 6 million. I really like the price of 6 million, so do pay attention to that. So Rodrigo is a decent option. He is a decent option. I don't think he's quite as good as he looks. I know, don't expect too much from Rodrigo. He only scored 4 goals last season, but he did have a few injuries. And, you know, he's never really meant to be an out-and-out goal scorer, similar to some of the other players around the same price. Maybe a Che Adams or a Mitrovic will probably score you more goals across the season. But he does get a lot of assists, a hell of a lot of assists, actually. The other thing is he's expected to be nailed on, but I'm not sure where he's going to be nailed on in that Leeds side. Is he going to be playing on the left wing or the right wing? Possibly more likely the right wing. He has played there a lot before, and I know that Bamford is the most nailed on player in the whole Premier League, just because Bielsa refuses to drop Bamford. No one can displace Bamford. So maybe Rodrigo comes in on the right. Maybe he does play in the central forward position, but you know, you expect a solo central forward to be the main goal scorer, especially if there's not too many out-and-out goal scorers around him, and I don't think there is at Leeds. So, yeah, not sure how Rodrigo's going to play. Maybe he's going to adapt his game completely and become that goal-scoring player. Maybe that's the vision that Leeds have for him. So, yeah, again, he is a little bit of a gamble, but I don't think it's a bad gamble just because of his great price. You're not really risking a lot of your money in Rodrigo. So I guess I give him a verdict of average, possibly good. It could go really well, but, you know, I don't have incredibly high hopes. You know, newly promoted team, it could go either way. So I don't think it's a bad choice to put him in your team, but I don't think he should be one of those players who you've definitely got to get in immediately. So let's move on to Ferran Torres, and I'm afraid I don't really like this pick for FPL. So Torres, obviously, he's a fantastic young prospect. He's going to turn out to be a fantastic player for Man City. But right now, going in at the beginning of the season, his first season, I'm not convinced. He doesn't get a particularly large amount of goal contributions, even when he was in Spain. And he's going to be incredibly heavily rotated. You can't imagine that he's really anywhere near the first choice in right mid, because that's where he played. There's going to be Mahrez competing there on right mid. Sterling can play there. Bernardo Silva can play there. You know, you've got sort of like Foden and Jesus who can kick around these wing spaces as well. So I think for a similar price, 6.5 million, I would just go for Foden, if I'm honest, if I'm looking into that Man City midfield. I think Foden will get more minutes and therefore more opportunities to get more goal contributions. Foden has already got a record of a good amount of goal contributions when he is on the pitch. Ferran Torres hasn't quite proved that yet, so I do think this is a bad pick for FPL right now. But I mean, going into sort of next season, the season after, the 21-22 season, Ferran Torres could be a great player by that point, or maybe even by the end of this season. Let's see how he turns out, but for now, I think he's just not quite a good pick for me. So next up, Aaron Ramsdale. At 5 million, he's a really, really good way into the Sheffield United defence. Possibly even the best goalkeeper available at 5 million. I think other than him, you've maybe got Leno, if Leno is nailed, which we don't know if Leno's going to be definitely playing. I think he will, but, you know, Aaron Ramsdale in a Sheffield United team could be really good. So Sheffield United obviously had an incredibly good defensive record last season, really good defensive side. But on the other hand, Sheffield United last season, when they weren't playing with Dean Henderson, they did struggle a little bit. Now Dean Henderson has been replaced with Ramsdale. Can Ramsdale pick up where Henderson left off and become a fantastic goalkeeper? He is a really good young goalkeeper, Ramsdale, but his stats weren't amazing. They were okay, but they weren't amazing for Bournemouth, although he was playing in front of behind, and not a great defence. So I don't know. Also, could Sheffield United have a second season syndrome where everyone sort of figured out their defensive play and that can actually break them down a lot easier? I'm still going to go for a good verdict on Ramsdale, even though I haven't convinced you, just because is a really good price, and Sheffield United have built a reputation of being a good defensive side. So, yeah, I think there's something there. I think we can potentially go for Ramsdale here. He could be a pretty good option if you're not interested in the 4.5 goalkeepers. You want to put a little bit more money in. Ramsdale's a pretty good choice, actually. So next up, Eberechi, Eze. I guess I'm a little bit disappointed he's a 6 million player. If he was 5.5 million player, I think he would be very, very attractive. 14 goals and 8 assists in the Championship last season is an incredible record for a young player. He primarily played as a central attacking mid, but actually his stats are far better when he was playing on the wing. So when he was on the wing, he was sort of getting as many goal contributions as when he was playing in the centre, but in less games. So he was far more clinical, I guess, when he was playing on the right, which is kind of interesting. But where is he going to play in Crystal Palace? So Crystal Palace don't play with an attacking midfielder. Maybe they change that. If Eze drops that into a centre mid, he's actually going to be a pretty bad option. If Eze actually ends up playing, or maybe on the right wing, maybe on the left wing, we're not sure. Depends where Zaha fits in, I suppose. If he ends up playing on the wing, then actually, I think Eze could be a pretty good option. Particularly as Palace's fixtures look really nice after game week 4 or 5. Out of the 6 million sort of untested 6 million midfielders, I think Eze is my favourite, especially when you compare him to someone like Matheus Pereira. A lot of people are going for Matheus Pereira at West Brom. I much prefer Eze just because he's in a stronger team, he's got stronger players to link with, and an established Premier League team as well. So I do prefer him. I'm not fully convinced yet. I will give him a verdict of average. If you want to take a punt on him, I think he could be really good if he ends up playing on the wing and sort of from game week 4 or 5 onwards, where Crystal Palace's fixtures look a little bit better. Eze could actually be quite a nice pick, but I'm not ready to put him in my game week 1 team personally. It could be okay. Could pay off that one. So next up, Matt Doherty or Doherty. I think we're settled on Doherty now. 6 million defender. I think he's going to be a really, really good option, actually, especially if Spurs can start to keep clean sheets. You know, in times last season, even under Jose Mourinho, a typically defensive coach, they did struggle a little bit to keep clean sheets. But that's not Doherty's draw, really. What we like about Doherty is the fact that he bombs so far forward, he gets in the box, he gets assists, he gets goals, sort of unlike any other right back in the whole Premier League other than, Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's in a similar mould to Trent Alexander-Arnold in that sense, maybe Pereira at Leicester as well. So in the Spurs system, we're expecting in that back four, the right back Aurier last season pushes really far forward. So if Doherty is going to be a direct replacement for Aurier, bombing really far forward, getting in the box, getting crosses in, I think it could be really good. So if Spurs have a good season, you expect this guy to have a really good season as well. And that's why I think he's a really good pick if you can afford a 6 million defender in your team. So yeah, definitely one to keep an eye on there, especially with Spurs' very nice fixtures as well. So yeah, let's move on to the final, number 10. It's Willian. 8 million for a midfielder in Arsenal. I'm not sure. The problem is, Willian last season, although his stats looked very, very good last season, I think he could be a bit of a trap. He looks very good on paper, but last season he was a bit of a set-piece merchant in terms of FPL points. Most of his points came from penalties and free kicks. Not sure if he's going to be on free kicks or not for Arsenal. I don't think he'll be on penalties. I think Aubameyang keeps the penalties. And also, I don't know if Willian gets as much game time as he does for Chelsea last season. And by the way, Chelsea, a better attacking team as well. So he's playing for a worse team. He's more expensive. His minutes are going to be reduced. He's not on as many set pieces as he was before. He's competing at right wing with Saka and Pepe. Who's going to be playing the most minutes there? Not sure. Genuinely not sure yet. Is he going to be playing through the centre? There's talk about him being a sort of central attacking midfielder. I'm not sure if that happens or not. It depends who else Arsenal sign or the system they end up playing. If they're playing 5 at the back, then Willian is not going to be playing in central midfield in a 5 at the back system, is he? So yeah, lots of questions to answer. And I just do not think he has anywhere near the appeal that he had last season. In fact, far, far less appeal. So I think it's a verdict of bad. I wouldn't even expect him necessarily to start in game week 1. I think he's going to be coming off the bench a little bit, maybe playing the odd game, depending on the formation and the setup Arsenal are going for. But even then, I don't know if he's going to get a huge amount of points. And 8 million is a lot. It's a real lot of money to be spending on a player. So I think there are much better options at the same price. Even Ziyech, who I mentioned in this very video, is a better option at 8 million, I would say. So yeah, not convinced by that one. But there we go. That's a bad verdict. Those are all my verdicts. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If there's any other players you want me to cover, I'll perhaps do another video. Leave a like and tell me if you want, as part 2, we'll do some more transfers. We'll do all the new transfers that are coming in. I know there's some exciting new transfers coming to Chelsea, possibly Manchester United as well, so we can have a look at that. But yeah, like I said, do please subscribe if you haven't done already. I want to get to 20,000 subscribers by game week 1, and I do think it is possible if I really push myself, and I can only really do it with your help, of course. If you want to join my mini league, if you want to follow my Twitter or Instagram, if you want to support me on Patreon and get some of those rewards there, you can find all of the links in the description. Just go check out the description. Loads of stuff in there for you to check out. More FPL mate stuff, I guess. FPL mate bonus. So yeah, do check that out. And other than that, I suppose I have to say thank you very much for watching. I hope you did enjoy, and I really hope to see you all on the next video. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye bye, mates.